Good afternoon and good evening, everyone. My name is Katie Gideon, and I will be your facilitator this for the social. We are going to be doing noticing nature and the balance log, as well as a balance activity. We are so glad you are here. I am dialing in from Houston, Texas, and I feel like in kind of true weekend fashion, you get Team Texas, because I want to give a huge shout out to Jennifer O, who's going to be in the chat. She's going to come on and wave. We are
Hey
Team
everybody,
Texas, and we're so
Team
excited
Texas.
to tackle this social with all of you. So glad you joined us. This one's going to be a lot of fun. We're gonna navigate these pages together. But just as kind of a quick sounding start, make sure you set your chat to everyone. This is so we can share kind of this noticing nature walk that we're getting ready to go on, share some of those tips, tricks, and ideas on how to kind of tackle these kind of more interesting prompts. And then as always, you are already entered in the self-care raffle just by attending. So here's what we're going to look at. Again, this month's theme is balance. So we're going to be able to kind of counteract all of what is imbalance and what is imbalance as we kind of navigate this notice to nature game, which I think is entertaining. And so that's where we're going to start. Here's where we're going to cover. We're going to be in page 19 in your September journal. Then we're going to break it up a little bit and have a balancing activity in the middle. You'll get why. I feel like if you've been with Team Texas before, we like to go on interesting journeys, but in all true form, we got a beginning, a middle, and an end, because that's just how I like to tackle these type of things, and I want them to make sense. So then we have the balance log, which is on page 21, also in your September journal, and then we'll have a closing. But we are all very excited here. So if you would please join us in the September journal on page 19. This is noticing nature. So I always take this page as like literal. I've got a science background, so I want to take this out and have my like investigative notes as if I'm investigating like scientific method, answer all of these questions with literally visualizing all of these things. But the more I kind of embrace this idea is that I'm not supposed to literally take my journal with me. I think the idea with noticing nature is to turn off my brain when I am outside enjoying nature. You know, I feel like I get stuck in I need to go get my steps. I need to go walk for 30 minutes, but I'm thinking of my next meeting, my next task. And what really needs to do is next time I'm out there, I need to just sit and listen to what sounds I hear. What does it smell like today? Kind of turning off the brain and tuning into just what is around you, going back to those five senses. What do I hear? What do I see? What does the air taste like? What does it feel like? And just kind of taking those moments to truly be in nature and notice it. So what we're going to do is we're going to break these into different pieces. And so I want you to think about your favorite place in nature, or maybe the place that you walk all the time every day. But what we're going to do, and if you need some inspiration, here are some pictures here, and just go to those places. So have a moment to kind of close your eyes, think about what does the air smell in some of these places. Maybe it's your common walk path, the place that you walk every day. Maybe it is just the small dash between your door and the driveway to your car. But tap into some of those. Or maybe it was a place that you went to on your last vacation. Or maybe it's a fictional place. But just start tapping into those simplistic senses. So I'm going to stop talking. Again, we're now filling out question number 3 on page 19, which is about middle of the page. But this is one of those, if you just want to put your pen down and think and just start kind of feeling and taking your mind to those places, you can do that. So we will check back in. So now we're going to continue on our walk. I'm seeing a lot of clean, damp. It's definitely raining here. So I'm right with you on the kind of rain smell, damp smell. And now as we're continuing walking, we're still exploring. Now bring in what are some of those sounds you hear? If you're near the water, is it the lapping or the waves? If you're in a kind of forest area or lake, do you hear bugs, birds? Even the urban traffic can definitely be that type of white noise that we're all used to. Or are you in that forest and it's raining or starting to hear the rain? All of those things. So now start thinking in addition to what do you hear as we're continuing on our nature walk? So as we are continuing our walk, I love seeing that all the animals are out hanging out with us and that everyone pretty much refers to them as talking to each other. I love that. I love the personification of animals, but embracing some of those sounds, quite a bit of activity overlaying with the what we're smelling. Now we're kind of going to move into what are we seeing. So as we're walking, I want you to think about what do you notice about the trees? And again, this is going to be kind of tailored to whatever region you're in. Maybe it's palm trees swaying, maybe it's the kind of evergreen forest, or maybe you're in the deciduous forest where the leaves are starting to change, or you get those type of seasons. So let's just start thinking about what do you notice? So what are we seeing when we're out there walking? What do we notice about the trees? Again, these are the top 3 questions on page 19. So take a moment to now think about what do you notice when it comes to trees? You guys have just described some very beautiful and very vivid places. So, when we kind of talk about this noticing nature prompt, it's more of giving yourself that opportunity to go to somewhere in nature, either literally or figuratively. Start to just tap into some of those simplistic ideas. What do you see? What do you hear? What do you smell? As again, a way to find maybe some balance with just the small reset and just think in those kind of bright, vivid details. So we're still going to be on page 19. We're just now moving to the bottom half. So again, we're going to focus on trees. And so with the first question, which is the top box, what do you like about the tree? You can think of this in kind of the literal fashion, or you can kind of reframe this prompt as what are qualities in a tree that you like? Maybe it's their strong roots, it provides shade, it's a home for birds, home for others. And if it's not, again, the literal tree that you can see kind of right outside your window, maybe it's a tree that you remember seeing before. Maybe it's that childhood climbing tree, or maybe a type of tree you love seeing when you travel. My parents, when we travel in the South, my mom loves the Spanish moss on trees. So I always think of those vividly, and that's where I would describe some of what I like about those trees with the Spanish moss in the South. Or my grandparents had this beautiful, beautiful weeping willow, and kind of describing what I like about the weeping willow. But take some time to kind of think about, again, is there that iconic tree that you love? Is there an iconic tree that you've seen? Use this square to think about what you like about them. And again, if you want to tap into some of those kind of more philosophical or kind of fictional ideas, in a sense of what does a tree represent and how does that kind of speak to you. You can have kind of give yourself permission to kind of explore this in whatever means for you. It's your journal. No one's going to check over this. There are no right or wrong answers. It's more of just giving yourself the permission to think in those type of terms and think about what is special about a tree, or what is it that you notice about trees? Thank you, everyone, for sharing what you like about your unique and special tree, seeing that you see them as kind of strong and resilient, but just kind of the magic association that we have with trees. I feel like always pops up, even though you don't always think about it because trees are almost everywhere. But having that moment to think and embrace one memory, one tree is always a lovely way to kind of reflect through nature and loved seeing and sharing all of those things. So now we're going to move into the next box, which is how does the tree look? And here's some other kind of questions that you can kind of ask yourself. Is it tall or maybe it's still growing? But you can also think about the roots or the trunk, branches, leaves. Are there flowers? I saw some fruit trees. But what I also want you to kind of maybe reflect on a little bit as well is embracing maybe some of those flaws of the tree. Has it survived a storm? Is it maybe missing a few limbs? Did an ice storm come in and kind of lop off the top of it? Or is there something magical about some of those other memories? Does someone carve initials into it? Embrace again some of those flaws that we know that trees have. Not all trees are perfect. And I love that kind of idea of we are all our own unique tree. And if we are you a part of a forest? Are you maybe growing where you planted? You're kind of standing alone, not in kind of the negative sense, but are you needing your space to kind of grow bigger, and kind of embracing again some of these other ideas outside of just the literal how does the tree look. But as always, if you just want to describe the literal tree, here's a picture for that and other inspiration. But it's more of this is a chance to maybe embrace some of the flaws that we do know that the trees have. Thank you, everyone, for sharing your beautiful memories associated with trees. And just that the common kind of theme is that all trees are different and they have gone through storms. They have certainly, disease, all of those things that can impact them, but they still stand, they still grow. And so it's a beautiful acknowledgement, I feel like, is how we kind of go on our journey. We have our ups, we have our downs, but we're still standing. We are still being a part of that forest community. We are still being a part of all those amazing things. And just kind of the opportunity to think of as we walk through kind of nature, turning that off. And I guarantee you the next time you walk around outside, you're going to be a little bit more cognizant of seeing all of those things around you. And that's really what these kind of prompts are set out to do. So we have got one final question, which is, what colors are in the trees? So what are your favorite colors to see in nature? Or what is your favorite color when those trees turn? Maybe it's that magic of seeing the fall trees with the sunrise or the sunset coming through. Or what other senses can you tap into when you see the colors of the trees change? If you're not from a place that has beautiful seasons, I've always lived in southern climate, so I don't get to see trees change. But maybe what are some of the favorite colors of each season where you live? Just kind of the opportunity to think now in terms of seeing that transformation over the year, seeing that transformation as the seasons, because we have all of those things that makes each season magical. So this is an opportunity to reflect on some of those colors. I love embracing all the colors of any of your favorite seasons. So thank you for sharing and describing all of these amazing places. So we're now going to close out our nature walk kind of at the end of it. And it's the draw your tree option. Probably not going to have enough time to finish it today just because we got a couple other things to cover, but you can certainly go ahead and start. And also, here are some other kind of inspiration of trees: weeping willows, cherry blossoms, as well as the kind of strong, sturdy Team Texas, Jennifer and I had done an imagination tree, which is, if you didn't do that exclusive activity, we'll provide the link to the channel so you can come and embrace it. But it's also an idea of looking at kind of the strength and what makes it strong, what makes it special, what makes it unique. Opportunities, again, for more inspiration from our Sonder family to draw your tree. So I'm going to stop talking, give you some time to draw that specific tree. And then we'll move on to our balance activity. Don't worry, we'll have a little bit more time kind of at the end if you want to keep continuing to color and draw your tree, or maybe use it as an opportunity later this week if you just need some, quick, quiet reflection time to come back and keep drawing your favorite tree, maybe taking a picture of your favorite tree, any of those things to come back to this space. But as we are kind of continuing our noticing nature journey, our balance activity, the first thing I thought of when it came to the balance log was a literal balance log out in nature. So please go ahead and turn to a blank page, notes page. There's some on 22 and 23. And what I want you to think about on your balance log, first balance log, is think about a time when you had to find balance to navigate an unknown or tricky situation. And then again, going with my figurative, walking across the log, across a small stream. How did you make it across that unknown or tricky situation while balancing on the log? What did you tell yourself as you were getting nervous halfway over the river where you've already committed? So you got to make it through. And then what was that maybe feeling when you made it to the other side? So just think again in terms of you've come across that river on your noticing nature walk, and there's a log that you've got to walk across and you got to maintain your balance. And so that could be, maybe you think about the people who provide some of that balance and support. And you think in terms of what is kind of destructive of the river. It's beneficial because it nourishes everything, but you've got nice shoes on and you don't want to get them wet. You can think in those terms. So using this balance log to just kind of free write the kind of unknown or tricky situation. Maybe if you didn't want to draw a tree, you could use that big block to kind of write out this idea of just how do you balance some of those unknown or tricky situations if you were to come across a stream with a log. Thank you, everyone, for sharing your very inspirational approaches to crossing that river stream across the logs. Yes, it's one of those you just kind of have to commit, take that leap of faith, find what is going to keep you moving forward and getting across it, but also kind of embracing that you may get wet and that's okay. You can get up and you can try it again, but still always kind of embracing that very subtle sense of adventure of, this is not really what I want to do, but I'm going to make it across. I feel like that's where I kind of end up when I'm in nature. I'm usually not quite thrilled to be there, but I will absolutely finish the hike, finish the walk. And I loved the visual idea of a balance log. Jennifer and I came up with the exact same thought, which all the Dirty Dancing references, that was the first thing we thought with balance log, which then turned into this balance activity. So thank you for everything that you shared, all the motivation and confidence to get us over that log. So now we're going to move to the other balance log that we're talking about today. So please join me on page 21 in the September journal. And there's a couple different ways to kind of embrace this log. Again, you're going to get kind of my literal thought of what a log is. We're going to look at, again, things that make me feel balanced and things that make me feel imbalanced. So you can fill this out as things that you can do this month to kind of reflect on, or you can kind of fill this out in real time, which to me, that's what I think of a log. Is that it's, and I'll show you an example of what I'm talking about is how I'm going to break it up this month to kind of look at it in real time. And then as always, you can look at this as kind of two independent lists of what are the things that make me imbalanced, what are the things that make me feel balanced, or you can think of it kind of as a seesaw, hence the theme balance. So what is maybe the direct counterbalance between some of these things? For example, traffic is something that always makes me feel imbalanced. And the way that I kind of balance it out is with a fun playlist in my car. So you can think in terms of those seesaw examples, which is how I've kind of embraced this particular one. But then also expanding, these don't just have to be things, these could be people, these could be places, it could be animals, there is no definition of thing. You can broaden that thing out as much as you want. But then you can also tap into what are maybe some of your balancing affirmations. How do you center yourself when you feel an imbalance? Is it an action? Is it an affirmation? Is it something, one of those things? And so here, as I said, here's my example. I've broken it into 3 sections because I'm, this is what I've reflected on this week that made me feel imbalanced, but what makes me feel balanced. So I was around a lot of large crowds, which made me feel imbalanced, but I love meeting new people. So that's how I balanced out that kind of uncomfortable situation. As I said, traffic, certainly hits me in all the wrong places. So I balance that out with music. And then I also, what makes me feel really imbalanced is no control over my schedule. So in doing that, I retreat into reading, or I retreat into finding patterns in data points and data analysis, because that is something I can control. So I looked at this as kind of a seesaw event of what were things that make me feel imbalanced this week? How did I balance them out this week? Because I find myself having a hard time kind of celebrating wins. So by looking at it's this seesaw opportunity, it's a way to see some of those lows, but celebrating how I kind of counteracted that with these highs. So I'm going to give you some time to work on this. Like I said, I plan on doing this kind of in real time, using it kind of each week and to reflect on some of these as just to focus on what I did that week. But again, no right or wrong answers here. And I will flip back and forth between the sides, but would love to see kind of what are your balancing affirmations? How do you get across that log? And we'll check back in. Thank you everyone for sharing your kind of what makes you imbalanced, what makes you balanced in this seesaw kind of method and idea of just a way to approach, because this big white space always makes me a little nervous. So being here and able to do this social with you all certainly made me just embrace and tackle this. Thank you everyone for sharing. I loved seeing the kind of commonality between everyone. The decision fatigue is right, spot on. I wouldn't have thought of that. But can you believe we are reached the end? I feel a little worn out. It was quite the hike, quite the nature walk, quite the exploration. But again, thank you everyone for sharing. We loved spending this time with you. Please, if you haven't joined our Sonder Club, here's the QR code for that. Jennifer is going to throw that into the chat so you can join us there. Please fill out the survey. That is how these type of events get formed. And that's everything from when they're scheduled, what time, what day, what events. If you want to refer a friend to Silk and Sonder, if you think someone can benefit from that, there is an opportunity to get some discounts for them as well as for you. And then the amazing YouTube link for our recordings. This is not searchable on YouTube, but you can go back and see all of those previous events if you miss out or you have technology trouble, or if you're just not feeling inspired in that moment, you can come back and find it. It's going to be the facilitator, the slides, fortunately no chat, but the music as well. And it's just a really great time, especially if something's not scheduled. I find myself going into that archive just because when you need a social event, you need it now. So thank you everyone for sharing. And as I said, we hope to see you again. Please enjoy your weekend. And thank you for going on this kind of adventure with us. And we will see you again shortly.